Florida Life Care Residents Association works to ensure quality of life in retirement communities. We represent residents in the state legislature and work with various groups that represent the providers to understand the legislation and rules as they impact our residents. We pass this knowledge to our residents through many educational avenues. FLiCRA chapters and residents' councils work closely together to safeguard our quality of life. The following module is the result of an ongoing education initiative based on questions from residents and residents' councils. The module includes advanced information vital to CCRC finance committees and other interested residents. This content was developed using references from Florida Statute 651 and Administrative Code 690 where applicable, ensuring its grounding in relevant state law. Additionally, a significant portion of this information is provided by subject matter experts, including invaluable contributions from residents who have or are currently serving in elected or appointed roles on residents' councils. The information provided is not intended to provide legal advice. Each situation within a CCRC can have a unique set of facts and circumstances, and specific legal counsel should always be sought for individual matters. Instead, the content provided is purely intended to offer guidance to help residents' council leaders make informed decisions. Welcome to Financial Information and Disclosures, Understanding the Financial Viability of a CCRC. In this module, we'll provide you with a fundamental understanding of CCRC finances, touching upon the most important areas you need to know. We'll specifically cover, first, the core financial basics that underpin a CCRC's operations and financial structure. Next, we'll delve into regulatory oversight, reporting and examinations, explaining how state bodies monitor and ensure compliance within the industry. Then, we'll discuss the critical role of the actuarial study, understanding why these specialized analyses are vital for a CCRC's long-term financial planning. Following that, we'll explore minimum liquid reserves, detailing the types of reserves CCRCs are required to maintain to ensure stability. We'll then turn our attention to the key financial metrics reported to the OIR, breaking down the specific ratios and indicators that regulators use to assess financial health. We'll also briefly touch upon other financial indicators that signal overall financial strength. Finally, we'll cover the crucial topic of disclosures, outlining what information providers are mandated to share with residents and their councils. And we'll point you to additional information resources where you can dig deeper into CCRC financial data. To ensure transparency and financial accountability, continuing care retirement communities are subject to ongoing regulatory oversight by the Office of Insurance Regulation, or OIR. A key part of this oversight involves the regular filing of annual reports and other critical financial information and data. These reports are essential as they demonstrate the CCRC's current financial condition. The deadlines for these filings are precise. If a CCRC operates on a calendar year, meaning their fiscal year ends on December 31st, their reports are due to the OIR before May 1st of the following year. However, if a CCRC's fiscal year ends on a date other than December 31st, they have 120 days from the last day of their fiscal year to submit the required reports. Beyond these annual filings, the OIR conducts direct examinations. Each CCRC undergoes an examination once every 3 years. These examinations provide a deeper, on-site assessment of the CCRC's operations and financial health. The final examination report is filed with the OIR and becomes a public record. In this module, we're going to dive into CCRC's financial health from two distinct but interconnected perspectives. First, we'll examine values that help measure generally accepted financial health within the CCRC industry itself. Understanding these values help us identify what good looks like in the CCRC world. But just as important, we'll also focus on deficiencies that specifically may trigger a regulatory action level event at the Office of Insurance Regulation. This is a critical point because a regulatory action level event isn't just a minor concern. It's a formal, serious warning from the OIR, signaling that a CCRC's financial health has reached a concerning level. When this event is triggered, it demands immediate and specific corrective actions from the CCRC to address the financial issues and restore stability. By looking at both industry-accepted health metrics and the specific triggers for regulatory intervention, we'll gain a comprehensive understanding of what constitutes strong CCRC financial standing and, conversely, what signals trouble. Analyzing the financial health of CCRCs presents unique challenges that set them apart from many other businesses. It's a truly complex model. First, CCRCs aren't monolithic. They operate with multiple types of residency contracts, from comprehensive Type A life care agreements to Type C fee-for-service models. Each contract type carries distinct financial implications for both the resident and the community, impacting revenue recognition, future liabilities, and long-term solvency. Adding to this complexity, CCRCs can be structured as either nonprofit or for-profit entities, which affects their financial objectives, reporting, and investment strategies. Furthermore, they can range from a single, independent site to large, multi-site organizations with centralized management and diverse financial portfolios. Effectively analyzing this environment requires specialized knowledge that goes beyond standard accounting. You need a deep understanding of both accounting principles specific to CCRCs and actuarial concepts. Why actuarial? Because the CCRC model inherently involves predicting and managing long-term financial risks tied to uncertain future events, like resident longevity, healthcare costs, and investment returns. That's precisely where an actuary comes in. They are highly skilled professionals who leverage mathematics, statistics, and financial theory to navigate these complex uncertainties. This specialized nature means that even experienced certified public accountants, or CPAs, may lack the specific CCRC expertise needed to fully grasp the nuances of these financial statements and long-term obligations. It truly is a niche field that demands dedicated knowledge. The OIR requires an actuarial study for the initial certificate of authority, second, for a proposed continuing care at home contract, and third, for the expansion of more than 20% of the existing units. Significant expansion impacts a CCRC's financial projections, resident population, and future care obligations, necessitating an updated actuarial assessment. Even without a regulatory mandate, CCRCs often conduct actuarial studies to help guide decisions on annual fee adjustments, measure solvency, assess the impact of new pricing structures, and ensure that their fee structure covers expected lifetime costs for residents. And it's prudent for CCRCs to undertake actuarial studies when there are significant changes to their resident demographics, healthcare costs, investment returns, or other factors that could materially impact their long-term financial projections. The comprehensive actuarial study is the cornerstone of an actuarial analysis of a CCRC. This study determines whether or not the cash and reserves held by a CCRC are sufficient to cover its future contractual obligations to current residents, and the combination of monthly and entry fees charged to new residents covers their expected lifetime cost, and projected cash flows are positive and will meet any financing covenants or regulatory requirements. CCRCs often summarize and share the results of a comprehensive actuarial study to assure residents of the financial health of the CCRC and to educate residents on the reasons and assumptions used for fee increases. Now, let's turn our attention to net worth, a fundamental concept in financial analysis that provides a crucial snapshot of a company's financial well-being at a very specific point in time. Think of it as looking at the company's financial health right now, at this moment. Net worth is what's left when you subtract total liabilities from total assets. It represents the residual value of the company to its owners or stakeholders. However, most nonprofits report net assets. Both are the same concept. When we express net worth as a ratio, particularly in relation to total assets, its significance becomes even clearer. The higher the percentage of total assets that is made up of net worth, the stronger the company's financial position. A higher percentage indicates that the company owns a larger portion of its assets outright, rather than financing them through debt. This strong equity base provides a cushion against financial downturns, enhances borrowing capacity, and generally signals a more stable and financially resilient organization. A cornerstone of financial stability for CCRCs, as mandated by the OIR, is the maintenance of sufficient financial reserves. These aren't just extra funds, they are specifically set aside to act as a crucial buffer. They are designed to cover all typical, ongoing expenses that a CCRC faces, everything from managing daily finances and funding routine operations to ensuring the proper maintenance and upkeep of the entire facility. These reserves are vital for operational continuity and long-term security. In terms of reporting, minimum liquid reserve balances are a key metric. These balances must be reported to the OIR on a quarterly basis. However, depending on the CCRC's specific financial health, the OIR may require these reports more frequently. This allows for closer monitoring when financial conditions warrant it. And this reporting has teeth. Any shortfalls below the required minimum balances can trigger serious consequences. Such deficiencies can lead to increased reporting requirements, meaning the CCRC has to provide more frequent and detailed financial updates. More critically, these shortfalls can also directly lead to regulatory action by the OIR, signaling that the CCRC's financial stability is at risk and prompting intervention to protect residents and ensure the facility's viability. Providers have the option to satisfy minimum liquid reserve requirements using an irrevocable letter of credit from a financial institution. However, they are still mandated to hold an operating cash reserve in escrow equivalent to 2 months of operating expenses. The OIR requires the maintenance of 3 specific minimum liquid reserves: debt service, operating, and renewal and replacement. These reserves are critical for addressing different aspects of a CCRC's financial obligations and long-term sustainability. The debt service reserve is specifically designed to cover scheduled principal and interest payments on the CCRC's long-term debt. It acts as a safety net, ensuring that debt obligations can be met even during periods of unexpected cash flow fluctuations, thereby preventing defaults and maintaining lender confidence. The operating reserve is an amount equal to 15% of the total operating expenses in the most recent annual report filed with OIR. As its name suggests, this reserve is set aside to cover the CCRC's general operating expenses. It provides a cushion for day-to-day costs, salaries, utilities, and other ongoing operational needs. This ensures the continuous provision of services to residents without interruption, even if there are temporary dips in revenue. And finally, the Renewal and Replacement Reserve is a forward-looking reserve dedicated to funding major capital expenditures for the future. It's used for the periodic replacement of long-lived assets such as roofs, HVAC systems, kitchen equipment, or even major renovations. The Renewal and Replacement Reserve is an amount equal to 15% of the total accumulated depreciation on the annual audited financial statement, capped at 15% of the average operating expenses over the last 3 years. Maintaining this reserve ensures that the CCRC can keep its facilities modern, safe, and appealing, avoiding deferred maintenance that could compromise resident well-being and long-term viability. Shifting gears slightly, let's look at specific metrics that the OIR requires CCRCs to report quarterly. As a result of a 2019 legislative initiative, the OIR now requires that each CCRC provide data on 3 crucial financial indicators. These aren't just arbitrary numbers. They collectively offer a vital part of a CCRC's overall financial picture and serve as key benchmarks for regulatory assessment. The 3 required metrics are the debt service coverage ratio, an occupancy ratio, and the number of days cash on hand. Let's delve into the debt service coverage ratio, a crucial financial metric particularly relevant to CCRCs with outstanding debt, which can include loans, bonds, or other forms of financing. This ratio, which uses only unrestricted cash, measures the CCRC's ability to use its regular revenues and entrance fees to meet its yearly debt payments. It's a vital indicator of financial solvency and prudence. This metric is incredibly important because a financially healthy CCRC can comfortably cover its annual debt payments using its regular core revenues. This means they are not forced to tap into non-operating funds, such as endowment funds or other restricted assets, just to pay their bills. Consistently covering debt with operating income demonstrates a stable financial foundation and reassures stakeholders that the CCRC is managing its obligations responsibly. It's a key sign of a CCRC's long-term viability. Let's get into the specifics of how the debt service coverage ratio is calculated and what different values indicate. The basic formula is net operating income divided by total debt service. This simple equation helps to quickly assess the CCRC's ability to cover its debt. For the exact, detailed formula, as defined by regulation, you can refer to Florida Statute 651.011, paragraph 11. So what do these numbers generally mean for a CCRC's financial position? I'm glad you asked. A strong position is indicated by a debt service coverage ratio greater than 2.5. This suggests they have ample capacity to meet their debt obligations and significant financial flexibility. A ratio between 1.5 and 2 typically signals adequate profitability and/or moderate leverage levels. While not as robust as above 2.5, it generally means the CCRC is generating sufficient funds to cover its debt payments. However, it's important to note that the OIR's requirement is simpler than these industry benchmarks. The OIR mandates that the ratio must meet the provider's specific loan or bond agreement minimums, as these are legally binding covenants, or it must be at least 1.2 in the CCRC's most recent annual report, whichever of these two figures is greater. This ensures a minimum level of coverage as a regulatory baseline. The occupancy ratio, which measures the percentage of available units occupied by residents, is a straightforward and powerful indicator of a CCRC's market demand and operational efficiency, crucial for revenue generation. Higher occupancy generally correlates with improved financial performance, with the target often exceeding 90% across all care levels and 95% often considered effectively full due to typical unit turnover. Trends are crucial, as declining occupancy can signal deeper issues. However, a higher occupancy ratio alone does not guarantee financial health, as it must be evaluated alongside profitability and circumstances, such as a new building. A CCRC could achieve high occupancy through aggressive discounting or lowering health standards, detrimental actions that must be balanced against maintaining standards and profitability. Therefore, occupancy is a crucial balancing act that requires a careful analysis of the details. The OIR's minimum requirement is an average of 80% over the 12 months preceding the most recent annual report. Now, let's examine days cash on hand, a critical metric that is a vital measure of liquidity, indicating the CCRC's short-term financial flexibility and its ability to cover immediate expenses. This ratio tells us how many days a CCRC can continue to operate using only its current cash reserves without needing any additional revenue. A simplified formula is shown on this slide. For the actual formula, see 651.011, paragraph 10. Generally, more than 450 days of cash on hand indicates considerable financial flexibility. This level provides a robust buffer, allowing a CCRC to withstand unexpected expenses, navigate economic downturns, or even pursue strategic opportunities without immediate financial pressure. Conversely, less than 200 days of cash on hand signifies less financial flexibility. While not necessarily an immediate crisis, it suggests a tighter operating margin and less room for unforeseen challenges. However, it's important to consider context. Below 200 days might still be acceptable if the CCRC has a very low debt burden. In such cases, less cash may be needed to cover ongoing debt service, reducing the immediate liquidity pressure. Now, let's look at the OIR specific requirement. The OIR requires that days cash on hand must meet the provider's loan or bond agreement minimums or be at least 100 days in their most recent annual report, whichever of these two figures is greater. This ensures that even at a minimum, CCRCs maintain a baseline level of liquidity to cover essential short-term obligations and protect resident interests. We've discussed the importance of financial health metrics. Now let's understand the direct consequence of falling short. If a CCRC fails to meet two of the three specified metrics, it will trigger a regulatory action level event at the Office of Insurance Regulation. This isn't just a notification, it's a formal escalation, signaling significant financial concern. When such an event occurs, the OIR isn't passive. They are mandated to take specific, decisive action. First, the OIR will require the provider to prepare and submit a comprehensive corrective action plan. This plan must detail how the CCRC intends to address the identified financial deficiencies and restore its stability. Secondly, the OIR must perform an examination. Even if a regular triennial examination isn't due, this trigger necessitates an immediate, focused review of the CCRC's financial records, operations, and management practices to fully understand the root cause of the issue. Third, based on their findings and the proposed corrective action plan, the OIR will issue a corrective order. This order legally binds the CCRC to implement the agreed-upon actions and meet specific financial targets, with ongoing monitoring to ensure compliance. And finally, and this is a critical point, if the financial impairment is deemed significant, the OIR might be appointed as receiver. This means the OIR would take direct control of the CCRC's operations and assets to manage it through the crisis, potentially arranging for a sale or orderly closure to protect residents. This entire process underscores the OIR's commitment to safeguarding the financial health of CCRCs and, by extension, protecting residents. The net operating margin adjusted ratio, commonly called NOM-A, while not a mandatory reporting requirement for the OIR, is a crucial metric that the OIR may consider when assessing the financial viability and operating performance of CCRCs. This ratio provides a more comprehensive view of a CCRC's financial health than standard operating margins by incorporating net proceeds from entrance fees alongside operating revenue and expenses. To calculate NOM-A, add the net proceeds from entrance fees to operating revenue, then subtract operating expenses. Divide this number by the sum of the operating revenue and net proceeds from entrance fees. Defining a healthy NOM-A ratio for CCRCs often involves looking at industry benchmarks, which can vary based on factors like the CCRC's size, single site versus multi-site, contract type, type A, B, or C, and whether they are rated by credit agencies. Based on industry reports such as those from Ziegler and Karff, a healthy NOM-A generally falls into the range of 15 to 20% or higher. It's important to remember that context matters. What's considered healthy can depend on the CCRC's specific financial model, age, recent expansions, and local market conditions. But trends are key. The OIR and other analysts will not just look at a single year's ratio, but also at the trend over several years to understand consistency and direction. The NOM-A is one of many financial ratios used to assess the CCRC's health. It should be considered alongside liquidity ratios, debt service coverage ratios, and occupancy rates for a holistic view. CCRCs often rely heavily on entrance fees, which significantly impact their cash flow and financial stability. Here is why the net operating margin adjusted ratio is a vital assessment tool for the OIR. First, it's a true reflection of the operating performance. Standard operating margins typically only consider recurring revenue and expenses from day-to-day operations. However, for many CCRCs, particularly those with entrance fee contracts, these fees are essential to their financial model. By including net entrance fees in the ratio, the NOM-A provides a more accurate picture of the CCRC's ability to cover its operating costs through all primary income streams. Second, NOM-A is used when assessing long-term viability. Entrance fees are often utilized for capital expenditures, debt service, and operating needs. A CCRC that maintains a healthy NOM-A demonstrates a robust financial foundation, suggesting they are generating sufficient resources to sustain operations and remain viable over time. Finally, the NOM-A serves as a key indicator of a CCRC's overall efficiency and profitability. A strong ratio suggests effective management of operating expenses relative to the combined revenue from both recurring operations and entrance fees. Even if a CCRC's traditional operating margin is low due to high operating costs, a solid NOM-A can indicate that the influx of entrance fees compensates and contributes to a sustainable business model. By including the significant impact of entrance fees, the NOM-A helps the OIR determine a CCRC's true operating performance, efficiency, and overall financial stability. While we've discussed specific metrics, let's summarize the key indicators that collectively signal a CCRC's strong financial position and overall health. When assessing a CCRC, these are the signs that analysts and regulators look for. First, growing net assets. This indicates that the community is increasing its equity over time, demonstrating a sustainable financial model where assets are growing faster than liabilities. Second, strong cash reserves. As we've discussed with days cash on hand, robust reserves provide the necessary liquidity and flexibility to manage operations, navigate unexpected events, and ensure financial stability. Third, positive operating margins. This signifies that the CCRC's core operations are profitable. It shows that the revenue generated from services and operations is consistently higher than the expenses required to deliver them. Fourth, solid debt coverage. For CCRCs with debt, maintaining a healthy debt service coverage ratio is essential. It proves they are generating enough income to comfortably meet all their debt obligations, which is crucial for long-term solvency. Fifth, updated actuarial studies. Regular, favorable actuarial studies confirm that the CCRC's long-term financial model, particularly related to future healthcare obligations and resident lifespans, is sound and adequately funded. And finally, high and stable occupancy. Consistent, quality, and strong occupancy indicate demand for the community's services, a strong market position, and reliable revenue streams. By maintaining strength across all of these indicators, a CCRC demonstrates resilience, effective management, and a commitment to long-term resident protection. This section provided an overview of the values used to help measure a CCRC's financial health and the deficiencies that may trigger a regulatory action level event at the Office of Insurance Regulation. CCRC finances are inherently complex, necessitating specialized accounting and actuarial analysis to ensure long-term stability and the ability to meet resident obligations. The OIR plays a key oversight role, requiring the CCRCs to maintain minimum liquid reserves and report on three critical financial metrics: debt service coverage ratio, occupancy ratio, and days cash on hand. Ultimately, these measures aim to ensure the financial viability and resident protection within the CCRC industry. Now, let's shift our focus to an equally important aspect of CCRC operations, the transparency providers owe their residents. Under Florida Statute 651, providers of continuing care retirement communities are legally required to provide specific financial and other crucial data directly to the residents, or more commonly, to the Residence Council president or chair. These disclosure requirements are not arbitrarily created. They were specifically established in Florida law with a clear purpose: to ensure that residence councils are aware of important issues in a timely and comprehensive manner. This timely knowledge empowers the council, enabling them to choose to take appropriate action, if and when needed, to inform and educate residents, to address concerns, and to advocate for the community's residents. It's about fostering informed decision-making and empowering the resident voice. In addition to sharing information directly with the Residence Council, providers have a clear responsibility to prominently post specific, vital information in an area that is easily accessible to all residents. This ensures that every resident has direct access to key regulatory and contact details at all times. The items that must be prominently displayed include, first, the CCRC's Certificate of Authority. This document validates that the community is properly licensed and authorized to operate by the state. Second, a notice containing the Division of Consumer Services website and their toll-free consumer helpline. This provides residents with direct access to a state agency dedicated to consumer protection, where they can seek assistance or report concerns. Third, the Office of Insurance Regulations website and telephone number. This ensures residents know how to access the primary regulatory body overseeing the CCRC directly. Providers are required to make specific information readily available to residents. This includes a concise summary of the OIR's last examination report. This gives residents a brief overview of the regulatory findings in the CCRC's compliance standing. A summary of the last annual report. This must include information noting where to find the full version at the facility, ensuring residents have access to detailed financial information if they wish to review it. And finally, a listing of any proposed changes in policies, programs, or services. This ensures residents are promptly informed about any significant developments that could affect their living arrangements or care. Beyond the general financial reports, there are other crucial financial and non-financial disclosures providers must make to their residents. On the non-financial side, to ensure residents are aware of the community's future direction and development, the provider's governing board is required to make approved master plans, expansion plans, and any phase development plans available for review. This means residents can access information on significant future construction, growth, or changes to the community layout and services. When it comes to monthly fee increases, providers have a clear obligation. Before any increase takes effect, they must explain the reasons at a quarterly meeting. This explanation needs to be detailed, broken down by department cost center, and specifically clarify why the increase exceeds the consumer price index. This level of transparency helps residents understand the drivers behind their costs. Beyond financial specifics, providers have crucial non-financial and contractual disclosure responsibilities to the Residence Council President, ensuring they are always fully informed. First, upon the Council's request, a copy of any newly approved continuing care or continuing care at home contract must be provided within 30 days of its approval by the OIR. This ensures transparency regarding the latest contractual offerings. Second, providers must make their current pre-sales disclosures available to the Council. These are the vital documents prospective residents review, offering insight into the information being presented to new members. Furthermore, any changes to these pre-sales disclosures must be communicated within 3 business days. Similarly, for the long-term vision of the community, notice of any changes to approved master, expansion, and phase development plans will also be given within 3 business days. This keeps the Council abreast of significant future growth or changes to the facility. Providers have additional disclosure timelines. Within 10 business days of issuance, the Council must receive notice of any final examination report or any notice of legal or administrative proceedings against the CCRC. This provides immediate awareness of any serious regulatory or legal challenges. Following that, within 60 days after issuance, a copy of the full final examination report and any required corrective action plan from the OIR must be provided. This offers detailed insight into regulatory findings and the steps being taken to address them. Finally, To maintain transparency in leadership and ownership, any change in management must be reported within 10 business days, and any ownership changes must be reported within 10 business days of the OIR filing. Beyond the non-financial requirements, the provider has specific and significant financial disclosure obligations directly to the Residence Council President. These are crucial for ensuring the Council, as key representatives, are fully informed about the CCRC's financial state. First, within 30 days of filing with the OIR, the provider must furnish the Council with the complete annual financial statement and their most recent third-party financial audit. This provides a comprehensive and independently verified look at the CCRC's year-end financial health. To ensure understanding, a designated staff member will also be available to explain these complex documents and answer any questions the Council may have. A copy of each quarterly statement must be submitted to the Council within 30 days of filing. The Council President should also receive a summary of all entrance fees. This includes a clear breakdown of amounts received, any amounts refunded, and the total amounts still owed by the CCRC at year-end. This is vital for understanding a key revenue stream and related liabilities. Lastly, for any significant changes related to the facility's debt, providers must give at least 30 days advance notice before closing on any new, additional, or refinancing for the facility. This proactive notice allows the Council to understand potential impacts on the CCRC's financial stability. As we conclude, let's remember this vital principle. While numbers certainly tell a story, their true meaning emerges only after considering the context. Financial ratios and reports are powerful tools, but they are just one piece of a larger puzzle. To truly understand a CCRC's financial health, it's essential to be proactive. Don't hesitate to ask questions and request financial reports from the provider. Transparency is key, and understanding the why behind the numbers is crucial. If you find yourself navigating these complex financial landscapes, get help from advisors who are specifically familiar with CCRCs. This is a specialized industry, and experts in CCRC accounting, actuarial science, or financial consulting can provide invaluable insights that general financial advisors might miss. Ultimately, the goal of all this analysis and oversight is simple. A sound CCRC provides long-term peace of mind. For residents, it means security and stability in their home and care. For providers, it means a sustainable and reputable operation. By understanding these financial principles and engaging proactively, we can all contribute to the well-being of the CCRC community. Now that we've explored the key financial metrics and regulatory oversight of CCRCs, you might be wondering, where can I find this information myself? Understanding these complex models often requires reviewing the actual financial documents and reports. The next slides provide a comprehensive listing of the primary sources where you can access crucial financial information about continuing care retirement communities. Knowing where to look is the first step towards informed analysis and a deeper understanding of a CCRC's financial health. We'll outline both publicly available resources and specific documents you can request directly. Florida's Sunshine Law ensures transparency and allows additional financial records to be obtained through public records requests. A great starting point for this information is the Office of Insurance Regulations website, specifically their dedicated CCRC section. Indeed, most of the OIR's records, data, and reports concerning CCRCs are readily available on their website. This often is the quickest way to find a wealth of information. For records not immediately available online, public records requests can be made electronically through the OIR's website, making the process convenient and efficient. Should you need to make a request via mail or have direct contact, you can reach the Office of Insurance Regulations Public Records Office at their Tallahassee address or contact them by phone or email. Another incredibly valuable and publicly accessible resource for CCRC financial information, especially for those that have issued bonds or other municipal securities, is the Electronic Municipal Market Access, or EMMA, website. You can find it at emma.msrb.org. EMMA is operated by the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, and it offers free public access to municipal security data and documents. This is highly significant because many CCRCs, particularly larger ones or those undergoing expansion, finance their projects through the issuance of municipal bonds. The EMMA platform is formally recognized by the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, as the official source for this type of information. EMMA provides powerful tools for understanding the municipal market, allowing you to search for specific bond issuance by CCRC names, view official statements, annual financial disclosures, and other ongoing material event notices. This provides a detailed view into the financial commitments and reporting of bond-financed CCRCs. For nonprofit CCRCs, their IRS Form 990 tax return serves as another valuable public source of information. These documents are designed to provide transparency into how nonprofit organizations operate financially. The provider is legally required to provide a copy of their IRS 990 tax return to any member of the public who requests it. This is a fundamental principle of nonprofit transparency. While the return must be provided, a provider may charge a reasonable rate for copying if a hard copy is specifically requested. However, even with the charge, the turnaround time should be reasonable. You don't always have to make a direct request to the provider. Several excellent, publicly accessible websites provide convenient search tools for Form 990 data. We've listed a few of the many reputable platforms where you can search for and view these critical financial documents, offering a quick way to gain insight into a nonprofit CCRC's financial operations. FLiCRA publishes a guidebook that is designed to help residents and Finance Committee members understand a CCRC's financial health and performance by demystifying financial statements and other key documents. With this knowledge, residents will be better equipped to address financial concerns raised by their peers and, importantly, to more effectively discuss financial matters directly with CCRC management. Specifically, the guidebook provides fundamental information, including a clear explanation of what is truly needed for a CCRC to achieve long-term financial stability, practical guidance on how to dig out useful information from a CCRC's financial statements, translating complex data into understandable insights, and a comprehensive overview of a CCRC resident's financial rights and protections under the law. This resource is designed to be your essential companion in navigating the financial landscape of your community, fostering transparency and informed engagement. FLiCRA chapters may order the financial guidebook through FLiCRA.com. We've covered a lot of ground in this presentation, hopefully providing you with a foundational understanding of CCRC finances and the critical role of transparency and regulation. To recap, we've explored a basic understanding of CCRC finances, recognizing their unique and complex business model, which often involves multiple contract types and organizational structures. The Office of Insurance Regulations financial requirements, highlighting their role in ensuring the long-term viability of CCRCs. The 3 minimum liquid reserves mandated by the OIR, the Debt Service Reserve, the Operating Reserve, and the Renewal and Replacement Reserve, which are vital for operational stability and future capital needs. The 3 key metrics required by the OIR for annual reporting, the debt service coverage ratio, occupancy ratio, and days cash on hand, along with their generally accepted target values and the nuances in their interpretation. We also touched upon financial indicators of overall strength, like growing net assets and positive operating margins. We then delved into the comprehensive disclosures to residents and Residents' Council presidents required by Florida Statute 651, covering everything from annual reports and fee increases to development plans and changes in management. And finally, we provided guidance on where to go for additional information, including public record requests to the OIR, EMMA for municipal bond data, and 990 tax returns for nonprofits. All this knowledge is encapsulated and expanded upon in FLiCRA's CCRC Finances, a guidebook for members of CCRC resident finance committees, which we encourage you to utilize. By actively engaging with these tools and information, you can gain a deeper understanding of your CCRC's financial health, address concerns effectively, and advocate for long-term stability and resident protections. As we conclude, we want to emphasize the vital role of your membership in supporting FLiCRA's mission. Our strength and impact are directly tied to the engagement of our members. FLiCRA membership has grown steadily since its inception, a testament to the value we provide and the importance of our collective voice. We work hard to keep you informed and connected. FLiCRA produces a quarterly newsletter that is full of information important to our members, keeping you up to date on industry trends, regulatory changes, and resident issues. During Florida's short legislative session, FLiCRA regularly communicates critical information on legislation that may affect our members, ensuring your interests are represented and you're aware of impending impacts. We also actively work with the OIR and other key stakeholders to develop proposed amendments to Florida Statute 651 or other relevant legislation, striving to improve the regulatory framework for the benefit of all CCRC residents. Our local chapters provide vital communication channels, foster networks between chapters, and play a crucial role in monitoring the conduct of their specific providers. Finally, it's important to understand that your membership dues provide 99% of FLiCRA's funding. This means that nearly all of our advocacy, communication, and support services are made possible directly by your commitment. Your membership isn't just a number. It's the financial backbone of our efforts to empower and protect CCRC residents across Florida. Thank you for your continued support.